we go back here, so actually how you stand the golf ball now in terms of your dress position, very, very good.
Yeah.
Nothing we need to worry about there in terms of where your hands are, your club position, the ball position. I think sometimes people need to know that because they always doubt, am I right here, my feet there correct? Because if you're on the golf course at the odd bad shot, you might go, oh, my feet correct, is my knees in the right spot, is my weight and my hips? For me, how you stand the ball at the moment now is really, really good.
Yeah.
What we've got to try and do, okay, or you've got to try and do, I suppose, is practice swinging different length of clubs back around us, a different length of swing, should I say, so the club stops at different points on the circle.
Points,
and you kind of learn
that's the top one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, your full swing would be probably, that's where your club would be for a full swing. So if we actually look at this club now, I'm not sure this is a full swing or a half swing.
No, it's
that was a half-ish, bit longer than half. I mean, for me, half is about there for you, okay? This was a swing going through.
I meant that to be full.
Yeah, these are the ones sort of 10 minutes ago, to be fair, not the recent ones.
No,
the
most, ones here.
Yeah, the recent ones are the ones on the right-hand side here now, okay? So this is the one we're doing before. That's kind of, for me, a half swing about there, okay? I mean, roughly speaking, if the golf ball is there, there's your full swing. That's kind of in sort of halfway around the circle. And with that length backswing, okay, the ball would go about, in your case, we say about 20 or 30 yards. What you then did on the next swing previously, when you were trying to swing and you weren't quite as aware of where the club was, you tried to swing to the same halfway back there, but in actual fact, you went all the way to the top. So you did a pretty fullish swing there with that club, okay? It was a shorter than full swing, but it was a fuller swing than we wanted. And then when you swing through, okay, you can see there's not much movement then. And if we look at this here now at impact, that's when your club would be contacting the golf ball. I'll do a different colour. You see how your hands now are leaning backwards behind the ball. So the club now is added loft, okay? And you're not going to get as good a contact. So get in that right wrist, as we said, in position, okay? So you get what we call that dragging drill. Now, the dragging drill, as we said, you start with the club here. You basically drag it left of your feet. So you're dragging it along the ground there, keeping it on the ground. So your right wrist is going to stay more in this sort of angle rather than that position. Once your wrist does this, you either add a lot of loft to the golf club, which is the one you went about 10-15 yards rather than the 40 because they're just scooped underneath it, or you're likely to top it. So getting that right wrist is going to be important, okay? So if we look at this swing here now, these are just some fuller swings which are fine. That stick on the ground, as we said, is going to really encourage that downward angle anyway. As you hit the golf ball here now, you can see at impact, your hands and the club are more in. Your hands on the hands there are more in line. So there's your hands on the club there, where impact would be. Look at those two blue lines there. Okay, so this one here is kind of leaning to the left, leaning backwards sort of on this side, whereas this one now is actually more on top of the golf ball in a more vertical position. Okay, so you then swing through a good strike of the golf ball. And again, once I think you strike the ball better, you are going to start feeling more confident with the shot. Confidence is sometimes lost when you've just seen 4 or 5 shots in a row of this sort of type shot, and you've duffed it 10 yards on the ground, or you miss it in the golf ball, and then when you get there, you're like, oh, I'm a bit scared of how far it's going to go, and then that fear comes in. And again, the problem with pitching, as this shot would be sort of named, or short shots as I usually call it, if you hit the ground behind the ball somewhere, if we hit the ground, say somewhere here behind the golf ball, the ball doesn't go very far at all. It goes about 5 or 10 yards, face full of mud, and the ball's going to be on the dribble. Then on the next shot, because it's still your go again, you sort of trundle forward to get your next shot, and you think, well, I hit a bad shot then, I hit the ground. So okay, the next one I'll just miss the ground. Then you miss the ground and you whiz it across the green like a rocket, and it goes 50 yards too far. And it's the same length of swing, but the different contact gives you a massive variety of shots. One goes 10 yards, one goes almost 70 or 60. Okay, so get in that better contact, work on that right wrist, as we said. Just get that feeling of how that club's going to come into the golf ball, not this sort of scoop in there with.
And cause normally it's like that, isn't it? Use for the drive and that use, but you.
Well, it's the same. I mean, as you swing a golf club, if I start my right wrist sort of down here, as it would be, there's a little bit of an angle. As I swing back and hinge my wrist, as you would do. Okay, look at my right wrist now. There's definitely an angle. There's on hinging the wrist. I'm not going to hinge the wrist and go that way, because then my hand will be on top of the golf club. As you swing back,
that's probably what I do as well.
No, you're not. No, not at all. As I swing back, if I just swing this back with my right hand now, okay, as I do this. That's where your club's going to go, isn't it? I mean, you don't do that, do you, Helen?
No.
So that hurts my wrist. I can do that. So your hand. If you look at my right wrist now, there's that angle there, isn't there? What people do is if they go from here, as they start coming down, Helen, they'll lose it about here and get a bit scoopy. So we see impact positions looking
so you've got
like
to
that.
Keep it
we're keeping this angle in this wrist
So you
here
keep it
until the point of contact. Yeah. So as we come into impact, then we release the club here. If we do it this way, Helen, up here, when you come to the golf, it's all very sort of scooping. Exactly. Now what will happen is two things. One, you might make a reasonable contact if the ball is sat on a really good lie, like the mat or the long grass, and you go under it. If the golf club's like this, look how much loft on that golf club there is. That's going from your left nostril, isn't it? Okay, not very far. If we get it this way, there's a lot more angle on it, okay? And that's going to give you more power. Now, with the pitching or any shot, knowing how far the ball is going to travel is a massive benefit, to be fair. If you're over the golf ball doubting how far it's going to go, you are just going to quit on the shot and just think, I'm not going to go anywhere, so I'll just duff it forward 10 yards.
That's right, And which one should I use?
The one thing, going back to about the distance, is what we're recording now.
It's 40.
You said about 10 yards gap between each club. Because the golf clubs aren't going maybe as far as... The 10 yards sort of comes from a 7-iron going 150, so an 8-iron goes 140, a 9-iron goes 130, and a pitching wedge goes sort of 110. But if your wedge is going 40 or 50, you're not going to be 10-yard gap between that, because the gaps percentage-wise is a lot greater. So you'll probably find your 9-iron might go 7 yards further.
Oh, right.
So it's not... So this is what I come back to. I said to a lot of women sometimes when they're playing these shots... They go, oh, is it an 8-iron, is it a 9-iron, is it a pitching wedge? In some ways, it doesn't really matter. Because if you hit a pitching wedge, it goes 40. Your 9-iron, it might go 47, 46. Your 8-iron's going to go 55. Well, a green is more than 15 yards long, so your pitching wedge is front of the green, your 8-iron's back of the green. It's not a problem, is it? You're still on the green, assuming you hit a reasonably good shot, you see. Now, that's obviously just based on some guesstimate numbers. They might be a bit different, to be fair. But when you're deciding which club... Don't doubt, is it this or that?
No.
Just pick a... I would be pretty confident to say you're not going to stand there from, say, 50 yards and go, oh, is it my hybrid from here? You're not going to do that, are you? You know it's not a high... It's going to be either your 8, your 9, your wedge or something. But it doesn't really matter. Just grab one. Grab the cleanest one. It doesn't make it... Just grab the one you feel... Maybe hit the one you hit the good shot with last time. Hit that one and bush, knock it on the green, okay? Don't worry about, is it the right club? Because worrying about if you've got the right club adds doubt, adds fear. Then you worry about the swing. Is this going right? Adds doubt, adds fear, increased anxiety and tension. And then... chances are you're going to duff it. The one thing I would always say, one thing to remember from today, as we said, slowing the swing down, you lose balance and control with the club, like the old slow bike race, as we said, If you accelerate through, you're controlling that club face an awful lot more, okay?
That makes sense.
So don't try and slow it down to be precise, because the more you slow something down, the more wobble you're going to potentially have, okay?
I remember the slow bike race.
Yeah, the slow bike race, okay? keep the speed up, keep the control up. Okay, does that make sense, Helen? Yeah? Good stuff, okay.